Start broadcast. 2, 1. I love you. Okay, listen only mode for now. But later on, if you all have questions and want to come off and speak, you're more than welcome to. We hope to make this interactive. So welcome to the Green Nurse Monthly Clinical Conversations webcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. The Green Nurse podcast, Clinical Conversations, came about when Nurse Elizabeth and I merged our companies, Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, alongside of Bloom Hemp, creating Holistic Caring Network. This is going to be our 9th year of podcasting and starting our 4th season of Clinical Conversations, where we explore all aspects of how to optimize cannabis as medicine. We have a saying, and the saying goes,
people are making great medicines, people are selling these medicines, but nobody's interpreting how to use cannabis and other plant medicines as medicine. And that's what we do.
And that's what we do, absolutely. So cannabis nursing has been recognized as a specialty, and nurses are truly making an impact on advocating for the safe therapeutic use of cannabis and other plant medicines that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system for health, healing, and wellness. Today's webinar, Microdosing Mushrooms and How CBD May Support Brain Health, Emotional Resilience, and Integration, we'll explore the fundamentals of microdosing psilocybin. We'll also discuss how CBD and cannabis can serve as plant-based therapeutic ally if you are going to be engaging in using these types of fungi for health, wellness, and healing. This webinar in Clinical Conversations is proudly sponsored by Mood Healers Mushrooms. For years, as people across the country have explored the benefits of mushrooms, Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse have been there to support them every step of the way, providing education, coaching, consulting, and integration services. We rigorously vet every company in our Green Nurse approved marketplace, and Mood Healers stands out as the only mushroom brand we have approved of for their unwavering commitment to ethical practices. Their dedication to patient care and consumers is why they are the premier sponsor of today's show. So we're going to have questions at the end, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Elizabeth and I will also share our personal experiences using these mushrooms for health, wellness, and healing. Okay, this is a very interesting slide. So I'm just going to kind of break the ice with this slide. Back in 2022, Elizabeth and I were part of an ensemble where we were recording for High Science. We didn't make the cut, but we did have the opportunity to tour a lot of amazing places in Jamaica. And this is one of the places that we got to tour. It was a mushroom grow house in Jamaica. And the interesting thing was not only were they growing psilocybin mushrooms, as you can see here to the right, there's 2 little mushrooms there poking out. Those are psilocybin mushrooms that we actually harvested ourselves, but they were also growing functional mushrooms for health, wellness, and healing.
So a quick content disclaimer. All of what we're saying here is not to be a substitute for professional medical advice, nor has anything been approved by the FDA. We are not liable for any products or services you obtain after listening to this presentation, and psychedelics are still illegal at the federal level, but we accept that use occurs and believe that offering responsible harm reduction information is imperative to keeping people safe. The essence of nursing is human caring, caring for the entire human experience without judgment, and that includes everything. So may you find peace and joy through this education today.
Okay, so my name is Nurse Sherry Mack. Gosh, I've been a registered nurse for a long time, 37 years. It'll be 38 years this fall. 25 years in the conventional system at the big teaching hospitals in Boston, doing a lot in my career. 20 years in holistic nursing, doing nutraceuticals and energy healing, and 10 years in the plant medicine arena, including cannabis and psychedelic nursing. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer of Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse and Bloom Hemp CBD. I have a podcast, which this will be on later, so you can review it. I'm also a member of a lot of different organizations, the Cannabis Nurses Network, International Association of Psychedelic Nurses, former board member of the American Cannabis Nurses Association. I'm a member of Society of Cannabis Clinicians and Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance. Very excited to be part of that group and co-chair of the Health and Wellness Committee. Author of the Green Nurse Substack and writer for the Kenigma, and contributing author to Clark's Cannabis, a handbook for nurses.
And I am Elizabeth Mack. I've been a nurse 1 year longer, spent my first 9 years in hospitals, but that wasn't for me. Got my MBA in healthcare administration, spent the rest of my years in operations and sales at insurance companies. And then I spent the last 10 years in plant medicine and cannabis and psychedelics. So I am co-founder and CEO of Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, as well as Bloom Hemp CBD and Holistic Caring Inc., our nonprofit. I am also on the board of directors for the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network and LA Normal. I also host clinical conversations with Nurse Sherry and have authored the book, Cannabis for Health, Become a Coach, as well as Wine, Women, and Weed.
Here we go. So now we're going to do some poll questions to get started. And I'm going to put up the first poll. The first poll is, have you ever microdosed mushrooms before? Yes, no, I'm interested in trying. Okay, we'll wait for the answers and then we'll move to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to publish the poll result, so you all can see. So 33% said yes, 1 said no, and there are 55% is interested in trying. Okay, so which is great. Okay, so then now I'm going to do the next one is, have you ever macrodosed mushrooms or taken a deep dive journey using psilocybin? That's the next question. Yes, no, I'm interested in learning more. Okay, so we have, gosh, I'll publish those results in just a second. Okay, pretty interesting. So there's 37% said yes, 1 said no, and 50% said they were interested in learning more. So I'm going to publish that result. And then the final question is, have you ever used cannabis or CBD as a plant medicine helper or ally for either microdosing or macrodosing psilocybin mushrooms? So yes, no, I'm interested in learning more. And then we'll continue on with, okay, interesting. So there was a lot of people that said yes, 83%. That's great. 1 said no, and then there was 1 that said, I'm interested in learning more. So I'll publish that.
Go together.
Yes, they do. They do go together. Okay. And again, if you have any questions as we go along, put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation.
Absolutely.
So therapeutic use of psychedelics. This is a very broad slide, broad topic. We're going to narrow down to microdosing as we continue on with the slides. And these are actually the 2 mushrooms that Elizabeth and I picked when we were in Jamaica. So when you're looking at that picture there, those mushrooms that were popping out of those bags, well, one of them I got and the other one Elizabeth got, and we experienced those while we were in Jamaica. But the therapeutic use, I want to just talk about this overall in general. The therapeutic use of psychedelics is the use of entheogens for medical, wellness, and healing purposes for mental, physical, and spiritual health. In sacred texts, entheogen is a psychoactive substance that induces alterations in perception, mood, consciousness, cognition, or behavior for the purposes of engendering spiritual development. So the therapeutic use of fungi, plant medicines in particular, is personal and subjective to each consumer, with objective criteria being improvement within one of the 5 health domains, and that's biological, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, without negatively impacting any of the others. So again, this is a new dawn, and much like cannabis as medicine, legitimacy is fought for rather than assumed within the medical model. Clinical trials are underway for the lucky to access these medicines, but there is a vast underground already available help to regular psychonauts explore. So if you're interested in exploring, there is an underground that is available to help people learn about these safely. As nurses, we help others to be safe to explore their mind and consciousness using these substances for medicinal healing and wellness purposes. And again, this isn't about recreational use. We know that recreational use happens. We don't object to that, but this is about the therapeutic use of psychedelics. Anything to add?
No.
All right.
So as far as why psychedelics are used, it is for the benefits. And research and observational data show that there are benefits for mental health with respect to depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, addiction, alcoholism, PTSD, OCD, panic disorders, and agoraphobia. On the physical health side, chronic pain, phantom limb pain, smoking cessation, eating disorders, Lyme disease, Alzheimer's disease and dementia, migraines, cancer and its side effects. And on the spiritual side, healing trauma, personal growth, emotional development, coping with terminal illness, fear of impending death, and existential crisis. Again, that biopsychosocial spiritual healing so you can live your best life is the reason why people are approaching these plant medicines and looking to heal body, mind, and spirit.
Now we're going to go over why this conversation matters. It's really, really important. So there's a rising interest in brain health, emotional resilience, neuroplasticity, which we're going to get into in an upcoming slide. And again, the future of healthcare is about patient empowerment and stronger self-care using natural healing medicines. Many people are seeking alternatives that support neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation. There is a lot of limitations of conventional mental health care approaches. We've seen this in our own practice. We've seen this within ourselves. The rates of anxiety, depression, and emotional dysregulation continue to rise despite widespread pharmaceutical use. Pharmaceuticals just isn't enough. They generally flatten people, and there's a lot of side effects. Plant medicines are adjunctive, another tool in the toolbox. Access, people do have access to mushrooms. Microdosing has emerged within this context, not as a cure-all, but as a potential supportive practice for better health. Education, safety, and integration are essential. And again, we're going to get into what integration means. And I'm just going to make this statement. Psychedelics without integration is just potential. So I want you to sit with that comment for a while, and we'll get back to it in an upcoming slide.
So what is mushroom microdosing? Well, it's taking a subperceptual dose of psilocybin mushrooms. And subperceptual is you don't really notice it, but it's working behind the scenes. It is approximately a tenth of a macrodose, so anywhere from 50 to 250 milligrams of dried mushrooms. Microdosing is designed for functionality, increasing creativity, and improving mood. It may both soothe and strengthen the brain. There's no intoxication, impairment, or tripping, no hallucinations, and it is cumulative with gentle effects felt over time. Again, you're not going to notice it so much right away, but over time you do. And this is best understood through journaling, tracking, reflection, and integration practices.
What mushroom microdosing is not. It is not a psychedelic trip. It is not a deep dive. There will not be hallucinations. There will not be visuals. It's not instant healing or bursts of creativity. And it's not a substitute for therapy, lifestyle change, or integration. And that's doing the personal healing work. It's what we call doing the work, right? It does not bypass trauma work or emotional processing. And again, without proper integration and support, perceived benefits may be minimal or inconsistent, and it's not appropriate for everyone. And we're going to go over that at the end of who it may be appropriate for and who it may not be appropriate for.
So last year, 2025, the RAND Corporation did a psychedelic survey of adults in America. The top 5 psychedelic substances used by U.S. adults in the past year were psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, LSD, and Amanita muscaria mushrooms, which are not true psychedelics. And anybody that wants to learn more about that, please go to Substack, to the Green Nurse. You'll find that in the show notes. And you can read Nurse Sherry's blog where she breaks down what Amanita muscaria mushrooms are. So psilocybin was the most used psychedelic substance, with 11 million adults using it last year. About 10 million US adults microdosed either psilocybin, LSD, or MDMA. And among the US adults who used psilocybin in the past year, 69% microdosed at least once. And it's not a one and done, it's something that you will develop a pattern with, which we're going to talk about. The total number of days that US adults use psilocybin surpassed 200 million, with half of those days involving microdosing. And that's a lot of days, right? There's 365 times the number of people using that. So 200 million and growing.
Potential benefits of microdosing psilocybin. So according to observational research and self-reported data, microdosing may help enhance mood stability, decrease anxiety and rumination, and boost focus, motivation, and emotional openness. Rather than directly suppressing symptoms, these benefits are believed to stem from shifts in cognitive flexibility within the brain and the way emotions are processed.
So there are current research articles. You can just go to PubMed or Science or any of the online journals and look at some of the reports on microdosing. This one explores the benefits of health behavior change with microdosing. So the participants experienced a wide range of health benefits, such as a decrease in addictive behaviors, also having improvements in sleep, reflection, and more physical activity. And a strong intention to change was the best indicator for actual behavioral change. And we know that from psychology, wanting to change always has to precede actual change. So improvements in mood, self-awareness, sense of effectiveness of the medicine and life, and feeling connected played important roles in the therapeutic process.
Brain health and neuroplasticity. This is one of my favorite slides. You know, a lot of people think that once you kill a brain cell, it's all done, gone, bye-bye, see you later, not coming back. But adult brains continue forming new neural connections. It's just a lot slower, right? And so psilocybin can influence this. So neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form new connections and repair pathways that might have been disrupted from chronic stress, trauma, depression, or anxiety. Serotonin signaling, so the 5-HT2A, this is the pathway through which psilocybin exerts its therapeutic effects. And then cognitive flexibility is the mental skill that allows us to adapt, reframe, and respond effectively to change. Microdosing may support the conditions for change, and it doesn't force it. It's not a forceful thing. It's very subtle and happens gradually over time. So psilocybin interacts primarily with the serotonin 5-HT2A receptors, which are involved in learning, perception, and neuroplasticity. Preclinical research shows increase in dendritic spine growth and markers like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, suggesting a biological basis for enhanced adaptability and learning. And we've seen this in our practice.
Absolutely. And it's great that we can always keep our brains growing, and cannabinoids can also help this as well.
Yeah.
So macrodosing versus microdosing, what are these two phrases? So macrodosing involves dosing grams, not milligrams, of mushrooms, and it produces profound alterations in perception and consciousness. For new consumers, though, these experiences require supervised and well-integrated settings. Microdosing, by contrast, is functional and subtle, allowing individuals to remain engaged in daily life while observing gradual internal shifts. Museum dosing is a nice progression from microdosing before attempting a deeper dive or big journey. So macrodosing is the psychedelic journey. This is the deep dive or the big trip. 2 to 5 grams of dried mushrooms. It's intense with immersive experiences, and it requires that guidance, supervision, and integration. Microdosing is that subperceptual 50 to 250 milligrams of the dried mushrooms, subtle, functional, and integrated into daily life. And museum dosing is noticeable but gentle, 600 milligrams to a gram, And this is something that you would take like in an actual museum, of course, while you're not driving, once you get there and you're walking around for the day, or Saturday afternoon in the garden, spending some time with friends. It is a wonderful introduction to a bigger guided journey.
So microdosing protocols, there are a lot of different protocols that are available for people to try. No protocol is universally best. Individual response varies, and we're going to talk about a couple of these. So the Fadiman protocol is dosing every third day. So you would dose on Monday, you would take Tuesday and Wednesday off, you would dose again on Thursday, you would take Friday and Saturday off, dose again on Sunday, and you would continue that pattern. The Microdosing Institute has a protocol where they are dosing every other day. So you're 1 day on, 1 day off. And then there's the 2 to 3 days a week protocol, which is a fixed schedule, which can be help people be more predictable. Then the Stamina Stack and the intuitive dosing is more along the lines for advanced users. So this combines the Stamina Stack in particular, combines psilocybin, which stimulates neural growth pathways, with lion's mane, a functional mushroom, which promotes nerve growth factor, and niacin, which is a supplement which promotes peripheral vasodilation and distribution throughout the brain, potentially amplifying mood and brain repair effects beyond psilocybin alone. I wouldn't recommend this for someone that is new because it can be intense if you're not used to it. You just think your brain's all expansive and immersive, and it just might be too much for your system. And then intuitive dosing is something that I do now. At the beginning, I used to do the Fadiman, and I've tried all the different protocols, but I'm on a different health trajectory at this point in time in my life. And so advanced users who dose using intuition or even muscle testing, just basically checking in through meditation, prayer, breath work, would this be good for me to take today? And again, no protocol is universally best, and individual response varies. Now we're going to get into them just a little bit more in detail and how to choose the right protocol.
So beginners, individuals with trauma histories, or those sensitive to stimulatory effects often benefit from gentler schedules like the Fadiman protocol. More frequent dosing may feel activating for some nervous systems. Nurses emphasize personalization, gradual titration, and scheduled rest and reset periods to reduce tolerance and support safety. So again, the beginners and trauma-informed care, Fadiman. The mood balance and consistency can be every other day, and productivity and neuroplastic expansion focus can be the Stamets approach. So you cycle, take 4 to 6 weeks on, then you rest for 30 days where you take none, and then you reevaluate what you might like to do, and you can switch up these protocols all the time. I personally have taken 150 to 250 milligrams on Sunday mornings when I'm not going to be doing a whole lot, and it just refreshes my brain, reconnecting the neurons and giving me better focus, clarity, and energy. So from a trauma-informed perspective, starting low and going slow is essential. Beginning on non-work days allows one to observe responses without performance pressure like during the 9 to 5. Tracking mood, sleep, stress, and emotional tone in your journal provides valuable insights and supports safer progression.
Intention setting for microdosing. So intention setting is not spiritual bypassing. We're not bypassing emotions like with pharmaceuticals. Oftentimes pharmaceuticals, for anxiety and depression pretty much flatten people where they're just not feeling anything at all. But the intention setting, it's a cognitive and emotional framing tool. So clarifying your intentions for microdosing can influence emotional awareness and meaning making around when you're taking them. So setting daily intentions paired with journaling helps translate subtle shifts into conscious insight. So microdosing is relational medicine. So set an intention on dosing days, such as how do I want to feel today? What am I cultivating? How do I want to live my best life? And then journaling your experience can amplify insight, safety, and captures a record of this transformational process that you're undergoing.
So even at microdoses, mindset, environment, and support matter. Stressful mornings, chaotic settings, or a lack of integration can amplify discomfort or confusion. Coaching, community, and nurse-led education can help individuals contextualize their experiences. So the set means your emotional and mental state or your mindset. The setting should be a calm, grounding environment, and support should be your coaching, your community, your integration, your friends, your fellow man, like all kinds of people that you're going to want to be talking to about this. And more people are microdosing, so it's a wider circle than you would think. So all of this applies to micro, macro, and museum dosing. The larger museum and macro doses call for more nuanced approaches and safety guidelines, as you will notice the effects. The goal of all of these is the safe consumption of mushrooms for therapeutic purposes and for growth and development.
Why integration matters. Again, this is one of my favorite slides. Psychedelics without integration is just potential. So integration is the process of turning that insight into action, solidifying memory. Without it, the experiences, whether subtle or profound, can fade without lasting change. So research and clinical observation consistently show that integration practices are critical for long-term benefits. So insights without the internal work fade. Integration is turning insights into new behavior for lasting change, and it begins on day one, not after the big trip, but when you start to use these immediately. And there's many ways to integrate your experience, and this requires a conscious awareness and developing a practice. And the practice is going to be personal to each consumer.
And I love this too, that it's just potential. And that actually came from MAPS. And many of the big organizations that are talking about this. So types of integration practices can be physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, or relational. Integration is ongoing, not a single post-dose activity. And on the physical somatic side, this can include movement, breath, body awareness, and all exercise, different kinds of somatic practice. On the emotional side, it can be processing grief, working on forgiveness, processing deep feelings that are heavy, and making space and time for that. On the psycho-spiritual side, again, journaling and reflection, meaning making, and journaling is really what is going to preserve this into your memory. We are forgetters, and it's sort of like when you have a dream and you wake up and you want to remember that. Write it down. It's the same sort of idea with this. And then on the relational side, your community, your support groups, therapy, with or without professional support, could just be friends. And then we're going to be talking about caring for your endocannabinoid system using different practices to support the relaxation response and healing, because this is about the greater environment of the endocannabinoid system and the endocannabinoid dome.
Yeah, so integration work, supporting the endocannabinoid system, another one of my favorite slides. Oftentimes we see patients in crisis and struggling, and we want to get them to surviving and into the thrive zone, the green zone, I call it. And when we're working with psilocybin and microdosing practices, supporting the endocannabinoid system, because these molecules don't directly interact with the endocannabinoid system, but they interact with the endocannabinoid dome. And that's the larger environment that includes the endocannabinoid system, the microbiome, the gut microbiome, all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that tell our body to either do something or not do something. So when we're looking at integration work, we always like people to be very aware of all of the things that are possible, and it has to do with lifestyle. As simple as food is medicine, whole foods. Looking at trying to avoid the fast food, fried food, fake food, artificial flavors, artificial coloring, trans fat, hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup, and sugar.
Stay out of the drive-through.
Stay out of the drive-through. That's right. So adaptogens, supplements, and herbs can support the system. Regular exercise, motion is the lotion, meditation, prayer, breath work, mind-body medicine, vagus nerve stimulation can include, facial massage, doing specific yoga poses, chanting, chewing ice, humming. Massage and therapeutic touch, acupuncture and chiropractic care, essential oils and aromatherapy, energy healing modalities, Reiki, reconnective healing, sound, chanting, music, drumming, eliminating alcohol, quitting smoking tobacco, restorative sleep and rest, social connections, laughter and play, journaling and writing. And then cannabis and hemp products can actually support the endocannabinoid system. And again, the relaxation response helps the mind and the body to heal.
That's the point.
That's the point.
So CBD can be a real supportive ally to microdosing or macrodosing. It does not act on the 5-HT2A receptors like psilocybin. Instead, it activates the 5-HT1A receptors along with a bunch of other ones and supports the endocannabinoid system, which regulates our stress response, mood, sleep, immune balance, and neuroinflammation, or inflammation in the brain. This makes CBD a valuable adjunct for nervous system regulation during microdosing practices. And so CBD can support the endocannabinoid system, which regulates all of our different physiologies in our eating, sleeping, relaxing, forgetting, protecting. Eat, sleep, relax, forget, protect is the phrase by the Italian scientist Vincenzo da Marzo, as he talked about the discovering of the endocannabinoid system and how critical it is for our health.
CBD microdosing synergy. So CBD may help reduce anxiety, dampen overstimulation, support nervous system, digestive system, sleep, and promote emotional regulation. Again, working on the 5-HT1A receptors, particularly for individuals who feel sensitive to serotonergic activation. Rather than enhancing psychedelic effects, CBD helps create the physiological conditions for safety and integration to happen, for the deeper work that people are doing.
So mushrooms and cannabinoids, they do play well in the sandbox together. CBD generally dials down the effects of all of them. It sort of gives us a buffering to soften things. CBD is the most abundant non-pairing cannabinoid in the cannabis plant, activating over 70 targets in the body. CBD activates several of the serotonin receptor family systems. And it is a partial antagonist at 5-HT2A. This can partially block or reduce the intensity or visuals at higher doses of psilocybin, but CBD can then ease the come down from higher dose journeys. CBD is also an allosteric modulator of the CB1 receptor, dialing down the psychoactivity of THC within the brain regions like the amygdala and the hippocampus. THC, on the other side, dials up the effects of mushrooms. It is the most abundant cannabinoid that activates both CB1 and CB2 receptors within the endocannabinoid system, and THC is the psychoactive cannabinoid. THC can dampen short-term memory with or without mushrooms, but especially when given with psychedelics, which may limit some of the experiences of the psychedelic medicine itself. So you might want to write some notes while you're in a journey if you want to. Higher doses of THC mixed with psychedelics has an additive or synergistic effect, which can amplify the effects like visuals. So many times on a deep dive, you'll see, if you're doing this in community, some of the more advanced journeyers or explorers to be taking a puff or two of cannabis while they're in the trip, which can enhance the visuals especially. CBD, on the other hand, can soften the psychedelic effects of the experience, especially if taken at the same time on a deep dive. But it's good for supporting the system in general.
But we're talking particularly, let's just go back, we're talking particularly about microdosing in particular. So I always want people not to be so nervous. Sometimes, when we're working with patients, they'll be like, oh no, I don't want to take CBD. It's going to ruin my high. I'm like, no, it's not going to ruin your high. It's going to soften it, right? It's not going to take away the medicinal effects. So that's one of the things that I want to be very clear
of cannabis or mushrooms.
Of cannabis or mushrooms. It just softens the experience, makes it a little bit more tolerable for people that are very sensitive. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Bloom Hemp CBD, options for explorers. So full spectrum CBD products containing minor cannabinoids like CBG and CBN offer broad endocannabinoid system support. These compounds may assist with daytime emotional balance, nighttime rest, and post-dose recovery. This is if people are taking larger, deeper dive journeys, but it's also important to balance the endocannabinoid system even when you're microdosing. And these are key components of integration and resilience. So full spectrum CBD for baseline balance, such as the hemp soft gel in the middle there and the black, that's a full spectrum CBD capsule that you can take daily as a supplement. And then CBD and CBG for daytime emotional regulation. There's a digestive tincture, which is wonderful. And when you think about the digestive tincture, I want you to think about gut microbiome health. And when you're improving the health of your gut microbiome, you're actually improving serotonin signaling. wonderful for daytime. CBG also helps you to create your own anandamide molecule, and that's the molecule that mimics the THC molecule. So when you're taking CBG and CBD together for emotion, it can have a lot of benefits. And then CBD and CBN for nighttime rest and integration. So the full spectrum calming tincture has CBD, CBN, and trace THC, and this can be good for people that have issues with anxiety or difficulty sleeping. And then the energy gummies and the sleep gummies are used as needed to promote daytime energy. They have CBD, B vitamins, and caffeine in them. They're very gentle. And then the sleep gummies can help regulate circadian rhythm. They have CBD, melatonin, and L-theanine in them. And it's offered at Bloom Hemp, the Emotional Wellness Bundle.
Always 30% off in the bundles.
In the bundles.
So Mood Healers Mushrooms, they are our sponsor and they're Green Nurse approved. We've been working with them for several years now, and I was introduced to them from a patient and started to explore them, and wow, these guys are doing it right. So vetted for consistency, transparency, and education around sourcing for safer experiences. Mood Healers provide standardized mushroom products for intentional microdosing. They provide education around dose awareness and protocol adherence, which reduces harms and improves outcomes. They're a trusted source for microdosing mushrooms, lab tested for purity, potency, and quality, designed for intentional supported use, and have an online shop for capsules, gummies, chocolates, and loose.
And before we go on, and the reason why we really liked working with Mood Healers is we were actually, some of their patients have come to us for integration work, and we've helped them to integrate their experiences. They're actually also, their story is very unique. These are a group of guys that were actually growing mushrooms for physicians, doing experiments and lab research
PTSD.
For veterans that have PTSD. So, and it's really interesting to hear their origin story, but I felt very compelled, to work with them because they're doing the right things for the right reasons.
And there's a lot out there that aren't.
Yes.
And that's the big difference. And, here today, gone tomorrow, not backing things up, etc.
So Mood Healers Mushrooms, again, we're just going to go over a little bit more about them since they are the sponsor of the show. We're very grateful for them. Just want to talk a little bit about some of their products. So their capsules, they come in 150 milligrams, 250 milligrams, which I would call microdoses. They have a 600 milligram capsule, which would be more of a museum dose. And they also have capsules that have functional mushrooms and other adaptogenic herbs and supplements in them. Their gummies are an assorted flavor of gummies made with real fruit, puree, highest potency mushroom extracts. So each gummy is 600 milligrams. For people that are new, I do like the gummies because I have people cut them into quarters. So if you get a 600 milligram gummy and you cut it into quarters, you're having a 150 milligram dose. It's a really good starting dose, and you can work your way up to a museum dose if appropriate. Chocolates, again, are handcrafted artisan chocolates infused with organic, vegan-friendly ingredients. The chocolates also come in 600 milligrams, so people that are new, cut them in quarters and try the microdose of that as well. And then they have loose mushrooms. And just like cannabis, mushrooms come in different strains. So they have different strains of loose mushrooms, whole dried exotic mushrooms offered at the lowest cost per gram for flexible use. And some people that get the loose mushrooms want to make their own capsules, or they'll use them to make a lemon tech to go on a deeper dive. So Mood Healers is on business. It's crazy that they have this. BBB A+ accredited, Better Business Bureau accredited. They have an excellent Yelp rating. They have a product guarantee. They have live support and chat available on their website. Medicinal grade, lab tested, fast, discreet shipping, secure payment. And since they are sponsors of the show today, they're offering a free bonus gift with purchase if you use the promo code Green Nurse. And post webinar you will get an email with some details on that. Anything else to add?
Just they love our audience and want to work with you as well. And so wrapping up here, we wouldn't be nurses if we didn't talk about some safety and contraindications. So psilocybin may be contraindicated for individuals with bipolar disorder, psychosis, suicidality, seizure disorders, nervous system or cardiac conditions, interaction with psychiatric medications, especially SSRIs, MAOIs, lithium, antipsychotics, must be considered and maybe weaned. You don't want to take too much of serotonin reuptake inhibitors and mushrooms, because they all act on the system, and you don't want serotonin syndrome. That could be a medical emergency. But of course, never stop any kind of medications without medical supervision. And if you want a deep dive, work with us and we'll help you on that.
And then the criteria and screening that we have here in particular is more along the lines for people that are going to be taking a deeper dive. So people that come to us that want psychedelic coaching and education and work around these, we always look at all of these different criteria, making sure, they're of legal age, that they're not pregnant or breastfeeding, that they don't have a disabling medical condition, or unstable or acute mental illness or addictions going on, no anger management, no current suicidal or homicidal ideation, no active unmanaged neurological disorders. We always want people to be cautious. This is about safe therapeutic use.
But for microdosing, it's generally okay.
It's generally okay. Yeah. So conclusion and invitation. So microdosing psilocybin and using CBD as a plant medicine ally hold the potential to revolutionize healthcare for millions of people underserved by conventional medicine. So getting started, next steps, we are going to have a post-webinar email with details. We do have in the email a link to go to our page where you can download a free microdosing guide. We have information on our plant medicine support group, free emailed care plans for CBD at Bloom Hemp, and microdose coaching and one-to-one guidance appointments are available throughout Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse.
Yeah, and that microdosing guide, the PDF, is probably about a dozen pages, and it's really special, and it goes through microdosing all of the major substances, as well as tips and tricks and how to be truly safe. So please definitely download the guide. And we have a free plant medicine support group in our psychedelic space at Holistic Caring Network. If you scan that QR code right now with your phone, you can go right into the space, request to join, we'll let you in. We meet every fourth Monday of the month at 4:20 Pacific time, 7:20 Eastern. And this group is really for those who are new to plant medicine, cannabis, CBD, or currently using psychedelics, or for biopsychosocial spiritual healing. We talk about how to optimize the experience using lifestyle as medicine to support the ECS and endocannabinoid dome. And it's a great place where you can enjoy support and learning while exploring a variety of plant medicines for healing in safety and with community.
And we do a lot of storytelling there as well. So we share our experiences, we share experiences of patients that we've worked with.
Yeah, and they're not recorded.
It's not recorded.
Feel free to show up and be yourself. We record our Cannabis Nurse Health Coach programs and, of course, all of our clinical conversations, but these are never recorded. It is just a place to just come and share.
And our ecosystem at Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse. So Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse Network provides the structure and framework to hold the products and services that patients need to be successful with cannabis and even psychedelic medicine. So we have a free network. You can scan that QR code, or if you just go to holisticcaring.com, you'll see join the network. We welcome you all into the network. We have a free intro to cannabis course, free ABCs of CBD course, free patient portal to connect and chat with peers, free monthly plant medicine support group that Elizabeth just talked about, free clinical conversations, webinars, and podcasts. So this webinar and podcast will be on our YouTube, as well as in the psychedelic space in our network. We also hold all of our programs for patients and professionals. We've got targeted e-learning library for patients and ongoing training for professionals and mentoring. And then again, we have a free nurse line to support it all, to triage all care.
So give us a call, 970-404-HOPE or 4673, and let us know what your questions and concerns are, or how you'd like to get started. So we have many newbies to plant medicines, cannabis, and CBD. And so for that reason, we have free emailed care plans. So if you want to scan that code on the left, it'll take you right to the intake form, where you can fill out a short intake, and then we'll reply within 24 hours with some product recommendations, some rationale, some research that you can read to substantiate our recommendations and understand better how to get started. And then, of course, on the right, you can scan this code for the shop, enter Green Nurse again at checkout. You'll get 10% savings and free shipping always. And what makes us different is that we're women and nurse owned, USDA organic hemp CBD, doctor and nurse formulated, an Ayurvedic inspired product. An Ayurvedic physician started the company with the original owners that we acquired it from, and really started the symptom targeted formulations, helping people save time and money on the products. And then, of course, we back everything up with the free nurse line and free email care plans in our network. So these are some of our references that we will have available. And of course, if you watch the replay, you can go and look these up and go back and check out anything that you might like to dig deeper into.
Yep. And then the microdosing guide also has a lot of information and references as well.
Absolutely.
And so then now we have Q&A.
We have time for Q&A, and so I will stop sharing and we'll go back to the main screen.
Yeah, so I can start with one of the questions that we have in the group chat was, do you have any information on the mushroom for pain replacement instead of opioids? Personal experience, me. Yeah, so they do work, but they don't work 100%. So that's the best way I can to explain it. So a year ago, January 28th, I suffered a blood clot in my leg and have been experiencing severe chronic pain in my right leg from the blood clot and I have a condition what is called post-thrombotic syndrome. So I had a blood clot in my leg, the blood clot went away, but it damaged the valves in my veins. And so now my blood pools into my right leg, making it feel like I literally have a peg leg. Like I feel like my leg weighs 1,000 pounds. It has a lot of pain. It caused a lot of fascia constriction around my knee. And instead of taking opioids, I opted to use psychedelics and CBD and cannabis. So it hasn't completely made the pain go away, but it's also reframed my relationship with the pain. That's the best way I can explain it. I wouldn't use the mushrooms every single day or a psychedelic every single day. I use CBD every single day, use THC in small doses, and then use the mushrooms to help me to process the pain and to deal with the pain in a particular level. And there are studies that have shown that psilocybin has helped with phantom limb pain.
Absolutely, it does, especially at larger doses, but it can also help on a microdosing. And for me, I have had migraines pretty much my entire life. As soon as I pretty much got into puberty, my mother had them, my grandmother had them. We are a family of migraine sufferers. And when I have a religious, like if I'm doing every Sunday morning with my microdose, I don't have the migraines and I don't have to go to the triptans and some of those other medicines that I really don't like to put into me. So it's great on the migraines. And then many of you know I've had 3 shoulder surgeries. And when I am in a lot of chronic pain, I will also take a microdose because it can help. And it like cannabis, it can help you stop thinking about it, but it also helps refresh the brain. So
okay, and then Carol Snow had a question: is this being recorded to include slides in the transcript?
yes.
So this is being recorded, and so 1 hour after we have finished this webinar, those that have registered and have shown up will get an email with the recording and as well as links to the PDF microdosing guide and information on mood healers.
Yeah, so you get the replay, but not slides.
You won't get the slides, but the microdosing PDF has a lot of the information in a different format for you to learn from. So a lot of it's included in the microdosing guide that we've created. And then again, this will be on our YouTube channel and will be in our private network. Okay, another question we had, and I'm not sure how to answer this one. Maybe you can help me with this. When discussing niacin, are you referring to NAD or NR? I don't know.
Well, these are different types of supplements. Maybe you want to come on and talk about it. But you know, in the Stamets stack is where they're talking about niacin, and niacin is good for the brain. It is a part of a B vitamins.
And generally, if people are wanting to do the Stamets stack, we have a Fullscripts account, and the Stamets stack, a lot of the Paul Stamets mushroom supplements, lion's mane, reishi. We actually take one of the Stammet
Seven.
7 stack,
Has a blend.
and so we take those. So
This is a specific
This is-
niacin dose
yeah,
that people are really doing to really enhance that neuroplasticity.
and it causes vasodilation. So
Yeah.
think you're dilating, vessels in your brain to increase absorption and the ability for it to circulate through your system. So I wouldn't recommend it.
NAD is quite strong though.
Yeah.
I actually tried it when I first got dysautonomia from the COVID vaccine, and couldn't take it because I was too revved up from it. So I don't know if I would recommend that.
Okay. And then we have, this is from Nicole Robles. Hello, Nicole. Thank you for joining us today. How do we have respectful conversations between science, wellness, and faith communities around topics like this?
Wow. When you think about faith communities, always lead with the science, because it is something that you can look at from a medical standpoint, and nobody wants to block somebody from using something that is clinically therapeutic for them. Just like with cannabis, people, that have cancer or seizure disorders or things like that, cannabis can be extremely helpful. And there were people that were reticent on that because they thought it was, using drugs that were horrible because of prohibition. And psilocybin got lumped in also with prohibition into Schedule 1 when Richard Nixon established the Schedule Controlled Substance Act. Now, when we think about, having the ability to expand spiritually, that's why these medicines were always used, right? And people have had a problem with psychoactivity or that elevated consciousness or leaving this consciousness. When you think about the way that we've been raised, and I was raised Southern Baptist myself, so I understand, people saying, you cannot color outside the lines, you can't do things that are questioning authority, you can't expand your consciousness, how dare you? You'll get there with God when you die and just go be with Jesus. And I love that, but it's limited to me.
Yeah.
And we're transcending that into something that is going to be something that is used for growth and healing. And gosh, I was raised with a very unbalanced mother, and I needed healing. And there's been times where I've taken these deep dives with psilocybin to be able to transcend that. And it was very necessary for me to be able to let go of some of the baggage that I was holding all of those years. And you might want to expand on this as well. It's something that we've seen people have incredible healing with.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get along the lines of, and some people know this, some people don't know this, but I'll just share it anyways. But when I first started using cannabis as a medicine, my mother blocked me on Facebook and wrote me out of her will. She was very Irish, very Catholic, and it was the devil's lettuce to her. But it was actually a nun who we helped get off of fentanyl that changed her mind. So, but it took 2 years, for her to be open to exploring cannabis and other plants for health, wellness, and healing. And so it was Sister Suzanne who came on my podcast, who, she was sharing her story of what it was like to use cannabis as medicine, how she was able to wean off of high dose fentanyl patches. And at the end, I said to Sister Suzanne, with all due respect for people that are very religious and afraid about cannabis being a sin, with all due respect, what would Jesus say about all this cannabis? And Sister Suzanne held up her finger to me and she said, Sherry, Jesus would say, what the frig did it take you so long to use this God-given plant that I created for you? It would be a sin not to use it. So guess what I did? Took that clip, sent it to my mother, and then a couple of weeks later, I got the phone call, and she was open to trying it. And she's really, really been, she's going to be 83 this year. And this was, way back when we started back in 2014, and so she started to use it. And so she's open to it now, but she had to hear from someone that she could relate to, a Catholic nun. She had to hear her story and how this nun overcame, using fentanyl and on all these different pharmaceuticals that weren't working and giving her a poor quality of life. So it's really about having intentional dialogue, meeting people where they're at, not trying to make them wrong. The essence of nursing is human caring for the entire human experience. And, my mother was probably the most challenging patient I've ever worked with, but also the most rewarding as well, because we did a lot of healing along the way, right?
Yeah, and hearing the stories of transformation and transcendence, just go to maps.org, maps.org, and look at some of the tapes there. They've also made public a lot of the presentations from their past conferences. You can create an account and view them, and you can see people overcoming and living a better life than they were. So, who wants to keep people down? We want to elevate people and help them to transcend the limitations and the shortcomings that may have been dealt from a bad hand, and to be able to recover from all of it.
Okay,
So,
and then we have another question.
The last question: I'm a licensed medical cannabis user, and I'm trying to integrate CBD, CBG, CBN into my life.
Trilogy.
And I was able to make CBN. How would you recommend any particular CBD, CBG strains? Well, and what we do in our work, we don't work with strains very often. That is more
of inhalation.
Of the inhalation in the dispensary routes. CBG, you need to pull the plants early because that obviously is the embryo of the cannabis plant, and it starts maturing and becoming other different cannabinoids. And
there's a lot of hemp
CBD,
strains.
There's a lot of hemp strains, right? So ACDC,
Pennywise,
Harlequin is a low THC, high CBD strain.
Cherry
Harley
wine.
Sue,
There's
some of the cherries also can be high in CBG, THCV as well, which is also something that we like. But also at Bloom Hemp, we sell CBD, CBG, and CBN in isolate. There's an isolate bundle that is discounted quite a bit. And you can get the gram of each, and then you can make your own products. And Nurse Sherry does that all the time, making topicals, sometimes some edibles, where you can take CBD, CBG, CBN, and fold in as much THC as you want that you can buy in FECO at a dispensary. And you can make your own products and topicals and edibles. So there are ways to get the isolates. Good luck on that. CBN strains, again,
CBN,
degraded cannabis is going to become more CBN.
So that's
because
what
it is oxidated cannabis.
So if you take a high THC strain that you get at a dispensary and you let it sit there and get old, over time, that THC is going to convert into CBN.
Just leave it in a drawer for a year.
Yeah.
Or put it outside and let it get some sun. That'll also do it very quickly.
And another thing that I've had other patients that have told me that they've done before is they've saved all their little roaches, literally saved all their little roaches from when they smoke, and they would undo them and they would make something out of the roaches. And that was literally high CBN. It was very, very sedating for them. So that's a way of doing it as well.
I've known people that have done that too. And they take the roaches and then they put them together into a bowl that they could light right before bed. And that's their sleep bowl. So you just have a puff or two, put it out, and just keep doing that for a few nights from the others. So.
Yep. So this has been a wonderful presentation. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, you can reply back to the email that you will be getting. You will all be getting like I said, within an hour, an email on this presentation with a link to the PDF, microdosing, information on mood healers, and you can reach out to us anytime. And I'm always going to end the show like I end all of my shows. Thank you all for being here. It's an honor to do what we're doing, and remember what it's all about. It's all about living your best life and helping others do the same.
God bless.